And welcome back to America Can We Talk. This is Debbie Georgatos. I have my leading lady, Carrie Kellerman, here. Well, we had a guest scheduled for this segment, and I think we're still trying to reach her, and I'll quick tell you what we were going to talk about. And if we don't get her, we'll just move right on. But I was texting with her 3 hours ago, so I don't know what. But anyway, it's Kathleen Hartnett White. She is one of the nation's experts on the use of fossil fuels, energy, and honestly, moving forward, how we meet the energy needs of our world today. And what we were texting about was contrasting the Democrat and Republican platforms with respect to the use of energy. And she's just she's a fount of knowledge. She has a new book out, which I did want to be sure and let you know about. It's called Fueling Freedom: Exposing the Mad War on Energy. And she has just been doing presentations around the country. She's been doing panels and speeches on it. And it's basically making the argument that there is an abundance of energy available to America, and that the fossil fuel fear mongers are wrong, and that the use of fossil fuels are just, they have transformed the world in terms of making easy, abundant energy available. And so it's a book about that and how we have just made it into a villain that doesn't deserve to be. She talks about fracking and how that has really just changed the energy picture in America. And she talks about the Republican Party platform declares that coal is clean. And so she's kind of was going to talk about that too. So I guess we got her. No, we don't have her. Yes, we do have her. Hi, Kathleen.
Hey, hello. How are you? Sorry, the clock in my kitchen is 5 minutes slow.
Well, you didn't have to tell us, but that's okay. I'm so glad we have you. I was just trying to describe. So I mentioned a moment ago, we have Kathleen Hartnett White with us, and she is just she's a distinguished senior fellow in residence and the director of the Armstrong Center for Energy and the Environment at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. So I want to just use much time as we have in this segment. First of all, welcome to Kathleen. We've had you on numerous times. Love having you back. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Okay, so I'm going to just start with this. Republican Party platform, which is, I guess, not officially out, but it's, everyone's leaking it, and we're hearing what's on there, apparently declares that coal, like COAL, coal, is a clean energy source. And so, of course, left-wingers have pounced on that and say, oh, my gosh, Republicans are saying coal is clean. So what's the deal with that? Do you know why would they be saying that?
Well, I'd be happy to. And with some qualifications, I would say they're right. And they asked kind of the wrong question. The question I would ask about coal or energy source was, can this fuel, this source of energy, be used in a clean way? And that's absolutely true about coal. I was head of the very large state environmental regulatory agency in Texas, known as the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and I signed 2 permits for coal-fired power plants. They were the first of 28 years, and they were, when you really drilled down on hardcore technical facts like the amount of emissions that would be released with, and this is a really important qualification, with all of the extremely effective emission control technologies we now have and use on power plants, whether they're coal-fired power plants or natural gas-fired power plants. With those controls, and all newer coal-fired power plants use those emission controls, they're not too far from natural gas, and coal has been so vilified with what I would call pure propaganda. And a tragedy, as the years have gone by, and in terms of what I call, as a regulator, genuine environmental pollutants that need to be controlled. These are pollutants that affect human health if you are exposed to them in a high enough concentration over a significant period of time. Yes, they can impact human health, but with these very, very elaborate and multiple emission control technologies, we can use coal in a very clean way. And I'm so sorry that the public has heard nothing but propaganda from EPA, because if you look at EPA's own website, I believe the portion of the website is called Our Nation's Air Quality and Trends. It shows these dramatic reductions of the real pollutants, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, lead, mercury, But EPA never mentions that. And the tragic part is that many of those coal-fired power plants, which have invested maybe $500 million to put every effective emission control that exists on their plants, those are now being forced to close because of EPA's carbon dioxide rules.
That is just staggering. And I have to say, it's one of those areas where I think that a lot of people realize, well, I'm not a scientist. Maybe I don't understand. I'm more willing to defer to experts than I will be in other areas. But I'm not surprised. I'm thrilled to hear what you're saying, that there have been continual improvements in the use of coal and the production of it and getting energy out of coal. And I just think we ought to assume better about our industries. That we just assume that they would just keep polluting and not care. But that seems what the left tries to sell and what people tend to believe.
And after, I'm pleased to have been a author of a book recently released by Regnery Publishing called Fueling Freedom, co-written with economist Stephen Moore. I have lots of charts and graphs, but that show EPA's own data that shows this amount of reduction. But yet, when the leadership speaks to the public or all of that, they say just outrageous things like it. I remember one on a year or perhaps two ago when the then chief of EPA was on the Bill Maher show, and she said, this would be almost a quote, but she said something to the effect that the air quality of this country is so bad that on a hot summer day, don't go outside, it may kill you.
Oh my gosh.
And I quote that in the book because that's not my exaggerated version of it. That's what she said. That's so sad to have our federal leaders communicate to us with pure propaganda. And I don't come by this judgment or conclusion easily because I wasn't inside making decisions about environmental regulation and worked with EPA a good part of every day I was there. But in the last 7.5 years, environmental issues have been so politicized. It's just shocking because, as you just said, the citizens of this country should expect the experts in our federal government to, communicate meaningful information.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Kathleen Hartnett White tonight. She is the author of a new book, Fueling Freedom, Exposing the Mad War on Energy, and she's with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. And so now Carrie Kellerman, my leading lady here tonight, was going to ask you another. I'm not sure what you were going to ask.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people see energy as separate. Like you have coal and then you have electricity, and I'm just thinking about cars. You have fossil fuels. What a lot of people don't understand, though, is that a lot of electricity is generated by coal. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can, and I might add that our country is behind only two other countries in the most aggressive efforts to reduce or eliminate fossil fuels as rapidly as possible. The only two countries ahead of the United States are Germany and Great Britain. And after years and massive deployment of renewable wind and solar power facilities, Germany and England still remain almost totally dependent on electric generation from coal or natural gas. They pay much higher prices for natural gas than we do in the United States because they're dependent on Putin, who has used the energy abundance of Russia to almost blackmail European countries. But even with all the renewables installed, there are fundamental weaknesses of renewable energy like wind and solar that you'd have to change the laws of thermodynamics to get around. They're still with like I said, the most installed wind and solar, just on a huge scale in Germany and the UK. But still, it's only producing, as far as actual generation that is consumed, that comes out of our light bulbs, or what the endless number of ways in which we use electricity. Because wind and solar, first of all, they're intermittent. I mean, we know at night the sun doesn't shine, for one thing. And wind it's certain parts of the world, certain parts of our country have more favorable wind conditions, but not necessarily when we need it. And electricity is a marvel running through our society, our homes, our economy, like the nervous system.
You know what? I'm sorry, Kathleen. You can hear that guy in the booth turning on the music. This is unfortunately our time is out in this segment. We spoke with Kathleen Hartnett White, and I want to have you back on sometime soon to talk about the difference between the Democrat and Republican approach to energy in their platforms, because it's breathtaking how much dishonesty you have to put up with, unless on the Democrat side. So, Kathleen, thanks for calling in. Appreciate you.